Welcome to a podcast that's completely unnecessary for, God, we're at the end of May almost.
No.
Tuesday, May 24th, my birthday month, 2022. That's Ian. I'm Pat.
I'm here.
On the show today, we'll be talking about, what are we talking about? A new ColecoVision. We'll be talking about Game Pass.
Yep.
Ian's got something to say about Game Pass. GameStop launching into the NFT world officially, coming soon. We're all excited about that. Ian with a deep sigh, and a Q&A and a Patreon poll. Or we talked about Top Gun and the new release.
Yeah,
coming
we did
out
for a surprisingly long amount of time. I mean, it's a movie I'm not even that fond of, but
I love Top Gun. Go to patreon.com/CU podcast if you want to hear us talk Top Gun and the sequel coming out. I think it comes out like today, like a Tuesday or something. It's weird.
Oh, really? That could be one of those Wednesday releases, so you might get nighttime viewings
There
tonight.
you go.
I don't know.
Other than that, Ian, you have a good weekend?
Yeah, I did. I played in another pinball tournament on Sunday. I did miserable. That was a humbling one. But I'm looking forward to the next one in 2 weeks regardless. Definitely played a lot of Playdate. I would say the week 3 games that just came out yesterday for me are some of the best I've played so far on the Playdate. So I'm still really enjoying that.
You should live stream you playing the tournament on Twitch. That'd be funny, right?
Yeah, maybe I should. Well, I would like to stream pinball someday, but I got to get a little bit better first. But other than that, yeah, no, it was a pretty chill weekend. That was about it.
I edited Flea Market Madness 46 almost all weekend. That's up now. You can watch it.
Nice.
Real
Congrats.
Teaser. Congrats. Thanks.
Congrats.
Congrats for
Congratulations
finishing.
for
There's
finishing.
about 6 more to edit. People say, Pat, when are they going to end about? Whenever I get through the backlog, that's when they're probably going to end. There might be a recap. There might be like a finale episode or something. Because Frank doesn't tell me stuff. Frank is recognized more than you possibly think. Probably more than me and you. He tells you about, like,
Oh, I'm sure.
where he's just working or walking around and he gets recognized, and people are like do double takes and be like, oh, that's Frank, and like talk to him like he doesn't tell me that. It was like, yeah, I'm getting seen, here and there, and I'm like, okay, it's very, very unique look.
Yeah,
everyone loves Frank.
He's easy to pick out of a crowd. He's got a unique voice, a unique
He
look.
could have been one of those character actors that showed up in cowboy films in the 50s. Like, he's always that guy. He's always like the drunk guy at the end. He was always that particular character. Like, that would have been Frank in like the 40s and 50s. He'd be hired to do all those little one-off little roles in these films.
I do want to point out real quick.
About Frank?
Not about Frank.
Okay.
Not about Frank. Were you continuing with Frank?
Go ahead, Ian.
Vonnie and I watched this movie over the weekend called Intruder.
Okay, that's a
Yeah. I needed to make sure that
Intruder?
I pointed out. Make sure you look up the 1989 one. It was a movie directed by Scott Spiegel, but it has a very brief cameo by Bruce Campbell in it.
Okay.
Sam Raimi plays one of the main characters, and so does Ted Raimi.
Okay.
And it's a horror movie that takes place in a grocery store overnight.
great concept.
One of the best horror movies I've ever seen.
Oh,
I
God.
loved every minute of that
it's a
stupid
slasher?
movie.
It's a slasher?
It's very
And
very gory.
And they're locked into a
Yeah, so
supermarket.
basically there's like they stay overnight. The grocery store that all these kids work at is being sold and closing down. So they have an overnight shift where they have to change all the prices during the overnight shift, and then stuff goes crazy from there. But it was fucking fantastic. I loved it. As far as like just picking a random movie and watching it, I couldn't have done better. It was so good.
It was random. What was it on?
It's on Shudder.
Oh, Shudder, is that a subscription?
Yeah, it's the horror movie subscription
subscribe to
service.
that?
And honestly,
I know you're that big into horror movies for that.
I get into them like twice a year. I get into them, and I will use Shudder like heavily for a month, and then I'll go away. But yeah, I really have been able to watch a lot more horror movies lately.
When you said Intruder, for some reason I thought of the Informer song by Snow. Intruder, I'm going to do this market slashing. That's what I thought of, that Informer song that's like 30 years old already. Jesus.
But if you like the fun stuff, if you like if you like Sam Raimi and that sort of thing, it's well worth watching.
What was I saying? Yeah, Frank's getting recognized. Flea Market Madness is great. There was a little bit of drama in the video, real quick. There's a spoiler. I got into there was an altercation I recorded between one of the sellers and an old lady, and it was really good. I'm glad I captured it
Really?
on film. Nothing too bad, but it was funny. People are liking it. The She-Hulk TV trailer dropped. Looks interesting. I have not seen Moon Knight yet. For some reason, something's telling me not to watch Moon Knight. Not that I won't enjoy it. I just don't have it in me right now. Plus, I'm still on Knight Rider. I'm on Knight Rider season 1, getting through Knight Rider.
I really enjoyed Moon Knight. I did. I know it's kind of split people, but I thought.
Really?
I think Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke are fucking fantastic.
Oh yeah. So that alone.
And I mean, I realize that probably helped me smooth over some of the things I maybe didn't like about it. Was just that when you get those two on screen at the same time. Especially, and this is not like a huge spoiler, when you get them on the screen at the same time and Oscar Isaac is doing the two characters, it's fucking great.
They raise the material basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's watching them is fantastic. So all the lesser scenes, it's worth it for that stuff.
It's almost like I want to see because I know almost nothing about the character, so it'd be interesting to see that.
It's an interesting take on the character.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then She-Hulk will be fun because it'll be I think more lighthearted. And plus from the news is that like since she's a lawyer, she'll be defending superheroes. So you'll get a chance to see like these C grade, D grade heroes and villains that probably show up for like one comic randomly. And so like I think someone says like there's a character called like Frogman that's supposed to be appearing. It's like a goofy ass character. Someone just goes on a frog suit. It's like so that's fun. That sounds fun.
I'm really into the law aspect of it. Like I think that stuff will be fun.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be fun. And the actress is great. She was on that the show where she played 4 different characters that everyone loved. Something Orpheus Black, or that's what it's called.
Oh, okay. Never even heard of it.
Played 4 different characters about clones, and she plays like 4 distinctly different versions of herself. You never heard that?
No.
Yeah, that's why she got big. That's why she probably got cast.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
That was BBC show. How do I know that? You don't? You never heard of that show, really?
Black Orpheus. No, that's a 1959 film.
It's something with Orpheus in it. I think that's what it was. Was it Orpheus Black? I remember I watched a couple episodes, and I'm like, this is pretty damn cool. Pretty damn cool.
That's pulling up a 1959 movie.
All right.
I think it's a little off, but I'll look it up later.
Okay. She-Hulk. Well, this is what I'll say about the trailer. It looks entertaining. Mark Ruffalo's in it. Everyone's telling me more and more I look like Mark Ruffalo. I think it's just the hair. But what's interesting is that it's going to fulfill some of the fantasies, especially like, I remember the one last time we used to do like the top searches on Pornhub.
Yeah.
And one of them was like Amazon or like giant women. And I'm like, what? That's a thing? And it's a whole weird subgenre where they like tilt the camera up to make the women look bigger and stuff. I'm like, this is fucking weird. So that's fulfilling fantasy because in the trailer, she's a big muscular dude she's like carrying around ready to have sex with, like just toting the guy around like he's a child.
Orphan
like,
Black.
Orphan Black.
Yes, Orphan Black.
That's it. Ian. That's that. From what I said, Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, that was a good show, even though I never really watched it. The BBC stuff I used to watch by accident. So Doctor Who's on, I'll watch an episode. I'm like, now I realize, now I remember each time I watch Doctor Who, why I really don't get into Doctor Who, because the stories are usually super silly, and I'm like, I can't get into this. But something like that is the BBC usually puts out good stuff. Ian, people like Luther. Remember Luther?
I don't.
You never saw Idris Elba's Luther?
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah, people like that stuff. And then Daredevil's coming back. Arguably, Daredevil's the best MCU thing ever to me. Like, it's the most faithful.
Very good.
Most faithful to a character and how the tone should be and like how. So that's coming back. It's going to be a Disney-fied version, but it'll still be good. From what I hear, it's going to be like a sequel series. Like, there's weird stuff with the contracts with the Netflix where it's like we can't do a direct sequel, but it's fine. And in the horrible side of news, Stan Lee's likeness sold to Disney. So the estate of Stan Lee did a license deal for Stan Lee's name and likeness for use in future movies. I thought we got away from the cameos, finally. TV, theme parks, VR, and merchandising through digital technology, archival footage, and other
yes,
forms.
VR. The VR Stan Lee experience. I can't wait.
I guess I'll have him like walk you through a museum of Marvel history at a theme park or what have you.
I think you're shooting for the moon with that.
It's a 20-year deal, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Hollywood Reporter, you're fast and backlog news. We're going to see this more and more because now we have the technology to do this more. It started with the hologram Tupac and Michael Jackson concerts the past 10
Even
years.
Before that, they used to bring him probably my favorite actor I brought it up in the bonus episode, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, the last of the Hunger Games movies,
Yeah, they digitally
basically
put him
just CG'd him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, digitally put him in there.
I mean, but at least that makes sense because he was supposed to be in the movie.
Sure.
This
sure.
is
I'm just saying the technology.
Yeah, the technology's been there. I mean, I think it even goes back further than that. The Russell Crowe Gladiator.
Oh, okay.
The Emperor, the Caesar guy, not Caesar guy. He passed away, and they had him digitally put him into shots, and that was like 20 years ago already. Gladiator, holy shit.
Yeah,
more than that. So it's been around. So it's obviously becoming better and better. They did it in Rogue One with the old British actor who played Grand Moff Tarkin. And that was like to mix results.
Sure.
I mean, obviously they did it in good old Tron Legacy, and that looked horrible back then. The technology was not there yet to do young
Bridges.
Yeah, young Jeff Bridges. But we're going to see this more. I guess what it comes down to is like, are people going to be acceptable seeing all these dead actors doing this stuff?
I don't want it
for like. You know what I mean? For
Peter Cushing.
Peter Cushing. Yes.
I know. I don't want to see it, and I hate to make this weird comparison, but I don't, because you're going to end up with what you've got today in pro wrestling. You're going to have people relying constantly on these old actors, and you're not going to bring up a fresh new class of actors, and you need that. Otherwise, everything's going to stagnate and get stale. I really don't want to see people who are dead thrown back into movies as a lifeless CG puppet.
I mean, you're going to have, Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible 17, probably. I mean, he still looks pretty young.
He might be the only guy that it makes sense for because he's a fucking robot to begin with. I mean,
it's a robot.
So I mean, actually, that's fine. You can continue the Tom Cruise brand after he dies. That makes
brand.
some sense to me.
Well, Tom Cruise basically has his own production company, does his own thing. So maybe for that, it makes sense where he's like, yeah, I'm running the show. I want Top Gun 3 to be made 35 years from now again, when everyone's dead who saw the original one. I want to do it.
Right. And make sure I do a crazy stunt.
The I Am Jesus Christ video game, which we brought up a couple times before.
Yes.
Here. It's still not out yet. It's the first person Jesus Christ simulator. And this company we've talked about before. This company, they're in Poland, Eastern Europe.
Simulam. Developer Simulam is the name.
Oh, but the publisher is...
the publisher is different, yeah.
The publisher publishes... I mean, I get sent the codes. Playway. Good old Playway.
All sorts of sim games for stuff that you would not expect there to necessarily be a sim game for.
They have like Sim Mechanic. They have Sim like Junkyard. They have Sim... the one controversial one was a Bum Simulator. They have a bunch of these that... I think some of them get really good reviews.
Yes.
People get into them. So they've cornered this like weird simulator market. So now they're using ahead of one of the major religions of the world to do this game. Blasphemous probably to a lot of people. But at first, the first trailer was like, oh, we're going to like heal people and do things like that. And now Jesus fighting zombies. Yeah. Every game naturally gets to the progression of fighting zombies.
Yes. That's why we're talking about it. The new I Am Jesus Christ gameplay shows Jesus fighting demons, and they look very zombie-ish.
Okay, great. So... this is from the Steam page. Are you prepared to fight with Satan in the desert? He didn't fight with Satan in the desert. He was tempted by Satan.
No, they threw down. They had a fucking five-knuckle shuffle in the middle of the desert. Just brutal.
Did the sword fight in the desert?
No punches pulled.
Cure the sick, okay, and help the needy. Perform over 30 iconic miracles, from the feeding of the 5,000 and healing lepers to the calming of the sea and giving sight to the blind. That's like a religious game. That sounds reasonable. That's Bible teachings. And then I guess for going that to fighting off zombies and demons, that's where it's like, okay, I don't remember that in good old Mark or Luke.
Magic bolts coming from his hand.
There was that first-person shooter where like you fought demons as an angel in the 90s. Remember that one? I remember downloading it, never playing it.
I don't, but I believe you. That sounds like something.
Yes, that was. They were popular for like 2 months. All those first-person shooters.
You know what else is really popular? UltimateNintendo.com.
Is it, Ian?
Yeah, it's popular with all the kids. You can go and get stuff. Twitch Wednesday nights. Click the join button to subscribe.
That's why I let you do it, Ian. You got RBI baseball stickers at Ultimate Nintendo. You got the NES and Super Nintendo guidebooks. You have the enamel. We're down to like 9 or 8 enamel CU podcast pins. We have the Pat Pixel pins and more at ultimatenintendo.com. And yes, I will be on Twitch .tv/ContraCode on Wednesday, and I'm on Cameo, cameo.com/Pat Contra. I'll also be at Too Many Games a month from now.
Too many games.
And Oaks, PA. I'll be returning there a month from now. I'm excited to do that with some books in tow. You see about this Mario Kart tournament coming?
Yeah, just now, actually. This one sneaked by me on the docket. But Nintendo announced you can race to the top 8 in the Mario Kart North American Open June 2022 tournament starting 6-3. Go for the gold in 3 days of tournament, place in the top 8. Win 2,500 My Nintendo Gold points. That's $25.
You win $25.
Yep.
In essence.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nintendo.
I would definitely... I will probably play in this. I've been playing a lot more Mario Kart lately. I say that all the time. I just play Mario Kart all the time. But I've been really, really bad lately. So maybe I can dust off the skills.
So there's tournament codes for each day. I guess you input that in the game, then it'll load you up, and then they'll put you into different brackets, I guess. Is it okay?
You can sign into tournaments and then you race your races.
Here's the legalese. No purchase necessary. They always got to say that so that you can like send in a self-addressed stamp envelope to Nintendo to people. I love that they still do that. No purchase necessary. That's always the thing about it.
Yep.
Like no purchase necessary. You know.
Wonder if a no purchase necessary person has ever won. And that probably really pisses off the company because you're getting the shit, but you buy a fucking thing from me.
Canada, you got to be 13 plus. Mexico, 18 plus. That's it. And I guess the U.S., I have no idea. It's not on here. What are the details for that? Yeah. It's fun to do it. I mean, you got the DLC. They're trying to pump that up. That's going to come out. When's that coming out? The DLC on that? The new DLC?
New DLC. Well, we already had some of it.
Oh, we did already?
We got the first 4. I talked about them on here. But I would imagine if they had 8 packs to do and they were going to do 12 years, 2 years, over 2 years, I would say that's every 3 months. So we should have one soon because it was March, April, May. We're probably getting some in June.
Mario Kart 8 Deluxe 0.5, basically. 8.5.
When you load it up now, it actually says 2.0 at the bottom.
It says 2.0. That's pretty good.
Yeah, they're well into the 2 aspect of this.
And on the negative side of Nintendo news, the Saudis now own 5% of Nintendo.
Yeah, not exciting. I know some people snarkily asked what I would do about it because I mentioned that I
mean, they're buying stock. There's not much you can do.
I don't watch, the wrestling, and I don't SNK. I'm not currently playing. There's a difference between a 5% investment and basically owning the company.
Yes.
So that's why I'm at right now. And I mean, we'll see what happens. And like I said, when I brought that up, I don't actually think I'm better. Everyone picks and chooses their own battles.
Sure.
You make your decisions based on how you feel. And, that's it. That's all we can do.
Yeah, obviously to diversify, the investment in different things besides just, oil and gas and getting into tech makes sense to modernize an economy to do that. But obviously, we're not really fans of the regime there. The
absolutely not. No,
we're not really fans of that. But you don't have to worry about them buying out Nintendo. I don't think that's gonna.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna escalate quite the same as SNK did. No, a small company that was probably ripe for
plus
the takeover.
Yeah, they'll be fine. You want to talk about this versus PS Plus thing real quick? This is really weird. So. Sony's remember this problem, one of the many problems with the PlayStation Mini, the classic, was the fact that for some reason they put PAL ROMs on the thing instead of North American ROMs, NTSC ROMs, which screwed with the frame rate going from 60 to 50. So you're playing slower games. Not the experience you're used to. Well, it turns out Sony did it again. They're doing it again on PS Plus.
Yeah, they're doing it with PS Plus. I mean, this thing that they've created 3 tiers for, and it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be their big competition with Microsoft Game Pass. And I have my issues with Game Pass, but this is not a good look. And some people say it's because, they're doing it because some of the PAL games already have, multiple language selections. Mm-hmm. So some people think that's why they're doing it. But honestly, Sony, I mean, it could just as much be the fact that they're fucking lazy.
Can you give me the choice to do the ROM? Like if I grew up in Europe with the 50 hertz one, because that's what I had, like give people the choice. Be like, oh, which version you want to play? You want to play the PAL one or the? Can you do that? Like, is that a big deal? I don't know.
Right. I hate it. And then something that I caught this morning and I didn't put on there. But according to reports from Asian players who have access to the new PlayStation Plus, if you got your subscription at a discount, you'll be charged a higher fee to make up for the discount. So they won't let you use. Yeah, Sony just being fucking gross. Also, stacked subscriptions must pay for the upgrade for the entire sub duration.
God, welcome to the subscription world. Welcome to the digital subscription world.
Gross, man, disgusting. I don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
No, sir, I don't like it.
This was announced on Atari Age. I've looked into this a little bit, but not a huge amount. I'm not familiar with this person developing a new Atom computer system. So it's an emulation Atom ColecoVision system running on new hardware, but it's an emulator system. So the way this is explained to me and the way it looks like, this is basically like a Retron 5 or Polymega, but for ColecoVision. That's basically what's being developed.
Right, and it will be able to support Atom, ColecoVision, and then not just
others.
ColecoVision, also the MSX 1 and 2, which is kind of like a home computer. So it was kind of like a video game heavy home computer system in Japan.
Yes.
Like the Atom. So they actually do kind of feel like they fit together.
So, I mean, the good news is that I looked into this guy on his website. He does hardware projects. So, like, and I think there's on this thread, he's already ordered boards for this. So this looks to be something that'll be produced in some capacity and get to people.
Yes,
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt too. Look, this is a very clearly a hobbyist project.
Yeah,
dude's not promising the moon. He's got some background in it. It's not pie in the sky. Seems like it should work. And if it doesn't, we'll call it out. But I do want to say, I understand people like the Amico stuff, but we got to stop calling everything a scam. Because we've had, like, when something was pointed to us, when this was pointed out, I was like, oh, the next retro video game scam. Just let
yeah, we'll see first.
We'll see. Scam has a definition. It actually means something.
Yeah, we defined it on the podcast.
Right.
So to be sure.
So we got to see. Yeah. And of course, we'll call it out if it is, but I don't think there's any reason to think this is at this point. No. It looks like a hobbyist thing that's going to be popular with, maybe a couple hundred people.
Yeah, they'll make 100 of them or 200 of them.
Yeah.
And if people get
people
money,
will review them. And
yeah, if this guy takes money and doesn't ship them, then we'll call him out. It's located in Belgium. I don't know much other stuff he's done, but so far, knock on wood, it looks like something that some people will enjoy. I'll just say this, though. This goes back to my just saying about, like, why does this exist?
Sure, of course.
It's an emulation system.
Right. I feel like if this was FPGA, you would definitely be targeting that group that we talked about. Emulation, I think it's going to be a tougher sell because the hardcore would probably rather have FPGA, and the people who are fine with emulation aren't necessarily going to be interested in this. Or
if I'm super into ColecoVision, I would probably pay someone to HDMI mod my ColecoVision.
Sure,
if
but
possible, like do something like that. Like,
it wouldn't do all of this, but again, like we said, it's emulation. So
yeah, it's gonna pull the ROM into memory and play it.
It is what it is. I think it looks cute. I mean, I like the mock-up of it.
It looks like a server rack sort of thing.
It's really kind of nice looking. I like the compact design. I mean, it really is compact when you look at the picture of it with the ColecoVision cartridge in it. It's really small.
So it's gonna have the traditional ports on there and also USB on there as well.
Certainly better designed than another system that's never coming out.
I don't know what you're talking about, Ian.
No one does.
Possibly. No one does.
No one knows what I'm talking about.
Ian.
Yeah.
Game Pass is in the news.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons.
Yes.
I saw you tweet somewhat in frustration or anger about a Kotaku article.
Yeah, I was really
talking about
frustrated
burnout,
about it.
But there's been a bits come out. So where do you want to start on this?
Well, let's start with the executive and his concerns about it, because I think they're valid concerns.
This is from VideoGamesChronicle.com. Former Xbox exec says he's scared of Game Pass's potential impact. Ed Fries compares the service's potential impact to Spotify's people just don't buy songs anymore, meaning that people won't buy games anymore.
I think right now with Game Pass, there are people who are very upset about things like games leaving the system or leaving the service. And because of that, I think that's, kind of in there as like a fail-safe to make sure people do still buy games. But I think there's a lot of people, I think, and I'm one of them, that would be okay with it. It's a constant rotating selection of games. A good variety of indie and AAA. I think for some people, it will be plenty. Just like there are definitely people who love music, go out and buy music, purchase music, even keep MP3s or buy digital albums and organize them on their computer. But there's a lot of people who, for them, music is fine. It's just Spotify, streaming what's on there. So I don't know that it's going to, kill retail sales, but I think it will end up, I think these subscription services will get to a point where they are enough for a certain type of gamer. So, that's what I'd have to say about that. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I don't think it's necessarily going to be like music where, it really is a true replacement. But I think, like I said, for some people it would be.
Well, songs are easier to sort of hold on to and grasp. They're much obviously smaller in size. You could play songs on anything. You download a song, you can play it on a computer, you can play it on any device. Games are a bit more complicated, obviously, because you need the platform for it. You need the tech for that. So it's not quite the same. But I see Ed's point here about it. It's like, people stop. Well, it's like, well, yeah, if you're getting AAA games. Remember, I was first confused about it. I was like, there's no way there's no way Microsoft's putting AAA games that are brand new on the game page. Like, oh yeah, they are, Pat. I'm like, my head got blown. I'm like, that's so weird to me to think about. Imagine.
Well, it happens less now, I think, because people are realizing it doesn't make a lot of money. But they do. There are AAA games that come out whenever the Bethesda games eventually come out that were delayed. Those will be day one releases on.
Because look, the only parallel we have to movies with this happening was remember during the pandemic with HBO Max. You had stuff saying, "Oh, we're going to come out with the Godzilla movie at the same time and come out," but that's not sustainable. You can't make those movies like that and make up the cost unless you release them in theaters. You just can't do it long term. It's just impossible.
But even though they are back to doing that, it's a much shorter period. It only took like 3 weeks for the Batman to get on HBO Max.
Sure.
Which I did watch, by the way. It was pretty good.
But they're calculating it in. They're like, we're going to make our money up front because that did well. That's like the second grossing movie this year, highest grossing. Then Doctor Strange, I think, knocked it off. So. Maybe that's the way they're going to do it. They'll just be like, oh, you got to buy it in the first 3-4 months, our new games, and then if you don't want to wait, or then it'll come afterwards, we're going to get the bulk of the money up front, and then obviously, who knows with DLC. But so that was an interesting little take on that. But then there's a Kotaku article that I think you disliked.
This rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't want to come across as too much of an asshole, but I think
no one would ever accuse us of that.
Yeah, I really think people need to think about what they're saying when they're bitching about things and services. So where is it? Here it is. Kotaku put out an article called "After Years of Hype, the Xbox Game Pass Burnout is Here." When you go through the article, it doesn't really seem to be based on any real research. Okay. It seems to be based on a couple of tweets that they cherry picked and decided that they needed to write an article about it. Must have been a slow news week. Tom's Guide writer Tony Polanco said in a tweet, okay, well, I guess that means everyone must be burning out then, right? And they go in and they talk about how, basically last year, especially with Halo, it got people interested in Game Pass because, you got this day one, AAA title released on there for something that you're already paying $14 a month for. So it seemed like a great deal. But now they're talking about, how the lack of AAA games is basically making it less exciting. To go to my tweet, I'll repeat it.
I don't have your tweet in front of me.
But I said, I don't think people think about what an asshole they sound like when they say this stuff. So many of these folks pretend to care about indie developers and games, but show their whole ass when it comes to money. Just say, I don't think your games are worth anything. And it's not just Kotaku. All of these websites really want to tout the indie developer. The person doing it the good way, the old-fashioned way.
Pull up by your bootstraps.
Pull up by the bootstraps, making games. They love to talk about all the conferences and indie game conventions and meetups and conferences and things like that. Mm-hmm. But as soon as that's what you're getting for your money, instead of AAA shit, no one wants to fucking pay for it anymore. And there's a lot of good AAA games or indie games that come out on Xbox Game Pass, and it's $14 a month. For instance, one of the ones that I've really been looking forward to is called Floppy Nights, I think.
Floppy Nights, okay.
Yeah. And it's like a card-based like deck builder game. It's got the same artist from Dicey Dungeons, which is one of my favorite games of all time. And it's normally a $20 game. I can play it on Game Pass. I've already paid the $15 for it. Okay. And that's not the only game that's coming out this month. I feel like it's weird to me because if I were to get my shit together and come out with an indie game streaming service that rotated through developers and gave you a great selection of indie games, and I called it, I don't know, Indie Stream or something like that, and charged $15 for it, I have a feeling that the very same people who are complaining would laud it as this, great investment that's, great for developers.
So they're falsely, and it's like this article pointed out, someone else from Washington Post shared a similar sentiment on Twitter saying, yeah, I'm unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass. Gene Park. Yeah, I'm unsubscribing from Xbox Game Pass for the first time ever. Got to admit to myself, I barely use it and barely have use for it now. I'll be back, but for now, there's no point. Maybe there's no time to play those games. I get that, but
sure.
Is there people that expected that I'm going to be getting all these new?
I think it's a matter of and this is why, like I said, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but it does piss me off when people don't think about this. It's a matter of expectations that were not met, and they're not.
They expected every month, a $60, $70 AAA game to be ready to go.
Not realizing that if you play these indie games that you so love to talk about, there's a great value here.
And what's the number of games? There's a few hundred games on Game Pass?
It's a few hundred games.
And that includes, obviously, older AAA games as well.
Sure.
So there's AAA games, just not new ones. Yeah.
And so there is, I just, like I said, you love this stuff when it's opportune, but then you shit all over it, whether you meant to or not. You take a big steaming fucking dump all over it by saying that Game Pass isn't worth it because there's not enough AAA.
So you don't like that. You're basically disrespecting all this.
Yeah, I feel
all the small.
When it comes down to it, yes, I feel like
all the medium-sized titles.
It's very disrespectful to the indie developers that you supposedly love. And I say here too, I realize that taste in games is subjective. You can totally hate it because there's not enough AAA stuff on there, but don't say the service is crap because of it. There's plenty of people who would love it for that reason. So I wouldn't subscribe to it if it wasn't for getting to try a bunch of indie games. And the big thing is, it translates to sales for me too, and I'm sure other people, because when I play these indie games for free on Game Pass, I oftentimes buy a lot of them on the Switch, so I can take them with me.
You can come a little closer. You're kind of falling off now. You can move the laptop back. There you go. Sorry, buddy. So that's where you took offense to it. It's a fact that, like,
I feel like it's disrespectful to the indie game developers.
So you think that almost like the AAA title should be like almost like a bonus versus this is not the meat and potatoes of the service. This is not the reason I'm getting it.
It's unsustainable if it's not just a bonus.
That's what someone like I saw there was from Adam Ruins Everything. Adam Conover brought this up a few months ago, saying like this is going to. I think he walked by a little bit. He basically said like this is going to like potentially ruin the video game industry because of that point where it's like you can't make these games anymore because like you're not going to people. There's no support group anymore if you go to straight subscription. There's not enough money being put into the system.
So and I will admit that it could be bad for the business. I also admit that Game Pass. I'm not trying to defend Game Pass here. I'm trying to defend the indie developers. That's basically what I'm going for here. Game Pass has problems and it could be disruptive to the industry. And honestly, I have no idea how much money indie developers are actually making off their games on Game Pass. I hope they make a decent amount.
Sure,
but fucking think about what you say.
Yeah. I guess the closest thing to this, I mean, I don't have to bring it up now. I'll admit it. I don't really play the games, but I still have the $5 a month Apple game, basically their Game Pass. And it's a brilliant subscription service. It's like the high end quality.
It's a throwaway amount of money for a subscription. Yes. And when I do want to use it, I'm very happy I have it.
Because these are like curated high quality app games.
I do feel like the releases though for Apple Arcade have certainly dropped off, but there's still a good amount of games to play there if I need something quick.
Yeah, and it's fine. So I think that's, unfortunately, we're in a subscription world now where it's no longer, I pay $100 for cable, which was awful, $120 because you didn't have a choice. And now it's, well, I have 17 subscription services now, which is well more than $120 a month.
Fuck games as a service. It's life as a service.
Basically, that's what you become. You have a DoorDash subscription, which I have. You have that. You have your TV. You have your movies. You can have a music one. You can have your horror movies. You can have your games. And so there's going to be a pull and take to this system. But yes, you're right. It's not sustainable to have. You cannot basically give away games that cost tens of millions or hundreds of $1 million for free. You can't give them away.
Right.
It's just you just can't do
no,
that.
Again, there's issues with it. That's not what I'm defending. Not defending Game Pass, just the games that are on there.
And then did you look at this Vice article at all?
No, I did not.
One dev's Xbox struggle showed how Game Pass is already changing games.
Right. So here it is, another example of maybe this isn't great for the indie devs that are on there. I did look at this a little bit, but something I did not know. I don't know that as much, but basically there's a problem with updating the game because of Game Pass. Or it's not going to be on Game Pass. We heard all of you who played Fury on Xbox, and we understand your frustration. Trying to explain why it's skipping Xbox. We are a small indie team, and we couldn't find the time and budget to make the port. So I guess you've got to port it.
Sure.
Got to do a special.
So they need the money per sale to make it worth it.
Sure.
They can't just do all this work on it and just whatever put on Game Pass and whatever amount of money they would get for licensing it, wouldn't make sense. You have to make a choice. This is a cult game. There's only 12 people on the team. They don't have a publisher. It looks like.
I heard it's good. I think Alex really liked that game.
They said Fury on Xbox was selling less and less, and we're under a third of sales on Switch. So they basically have to pick their battles on updating it. So there you go. It says, unfortunately, the quote to them was, we talked to the team at Xbox to see if there's a way to get some support, but Fury didn't align with the Game Pass strategy, focused on new titles. This is why we took the decision to not bring the DLC to Xbox at launch. The chances the investment was not going to recoup were high. And unfortunately, without Game Pass, it is also very hard for many indie games to be visible on Xbox. So that's another issue that I think about. So if you're not on Game Pass as an indie developer, is that going to hurt you, like in the search or the algorithm or being featured? Is that a strike against you going forward? So that's kind of scary. So it's a double-edged sword where, hey, if you're an indie game, you get picked up for Game Pass, maybe Microsoft throws you some bucks, that's pretty good. But if you can't do that, or are you now hurt from the outset on that platform?
Yeah.
That is kind of scary to think about that. Well, it's interesting, Ian. I don't know which way this is going to go, but this is what when you have entertainment now as a service, people think about it in a different way versus one-off experiences. Yep. And that's kind of what people like, Scorsese were warning about with like movies and entertainment, where it's like now it's content. It's just, we need more content just to put it out. We need more content. So the experience kind of changes in of itself, going from creator to consumer. It's just altered forever.